Welcome, Miracles with a Twist. Welcome, peace, love, joy. I just heard, I just heard something I've never heard before. And I literally just heard it like 10 minutes ago. I heard that tomorrow, okay, so today's the second Tuesday in January, January 11th. Tomorrow's the second Friday in January. And I heard that the second Friday in January was called Quitter's Day. Quitter's Day, because apparently by the second week of January, people have quit their New Year's resolutions. I think it's too soon to even make resolutions. We're just getting started. We're just going through the changes of whatever we had of our own expectations last year, moving into this year. And, we're still in holiday mode for some folks. And anyway, regardless of whether you're doing what you wanted to do every morning when you set an intention for January 1st and thought that you'd be up at the crack of dawn running 10 miles, maybe your expectations of yourself were not quite in line with what you're capable of doing. So let's think of it differently. We could call it reevaluation day, refresh, renew. Every day you can refresh and renew. And there's something that you never have to do differently, regardless of the day or the month or the year. And that's set your spiritual intentions daily. Now, that's something you can do. Every morning, you start your day with a prayer. You start your day with a daily intention, a spiritual intention, to see if you can honestly and rigorously, with rigorous honesty, evaluate how you want to be, who you want to be on this day, how you can be better than yesterday if yesterday didn't meet your highest ideal of yourself. Simple. Refresh, renew, have a beginner's mind every morning. Start with a prayer, and so we begin. How can I rise higher today? How can I love steadily, forgive readily? How can I be more compassionate, more kind? How can I connect? How can I forgive? Those are opportunities that are continuously presenting themselves on a daily basis, whether we like it or not. And so we can decide how we can be our own personal best on any given day. Because whether or not we meet an expectation that was set for ourselves on the end of the year into the new year, we can always, without exception, decide how we want to face our own self. Who do I want to be when I look in the mirror? And maybe it's not always who I had hoped to see. Maybe I had a little spiritual amnesia. Maybe I wasn't as kind. Maybe I wasn't as patient. But I can evaluate my own self and begin anew, make a new dedication. So where did all this come from anyway? I can give you a little history. I think it was like 4,000 years or so ago in the Babylonian dynasty had a period of time when it was believed that the gods were more present to human nature. And it was usually the first full moon after the spring equinox, which would actually mean late March or April. So you still got time to make your New Year's resolutions. But anyway, people would gather and they would make their promises to the gods of how they themselves would rise up. And they determined whether or not the gods found favor with them by how their lives turned out. And then across the pond in Rome, ancient Rome, we had people who were honoring and worshiping the god Janus. I don't know if it's Janus or Janus, Janus. And that's actually where we get the word January, because then the calendar was reconfigured. But anyway, so this god had one head, but two faces, and one faced the past, one faced the future, one faced the gates of where you had been and where you were about to enter. And so very similarly, people would pray that this god would find them in favor by seeing how much better they were than how they had been. And so that's thousands of years in the making of creating this concept of setting ideals and intentions. But it also set us up for something else, which was the idea that if things don't work out, if bad things happen to us, it must be our own fault, or it must be the sins of the father, or, sometimes we look at ourselves unkindly. So if you haven't gotten to where you want to be by Quitter's Day, be a riser. It's Riser's Day. We can rise higher. We're not quitters. We just move on. We reevaluate. We look at what we had. Maybe things at this point, even in 2 weeks, have not miraculously gotten better than what you had hoped for from last year. But we live our lives in a state of allowing. We allow what is, so that whatever occurs shines a light on whatever it is we need to do, whatever it is we need to heal. Emotional healing allows for spiritual growth. Without one, we can't have the other, because they work together. They work together like a team, like a well synchronized team that allows us to finally do true, unfiltered self-evaluation. And so there's this acceptance, allowance, appreciation for what has occurred. I was talking to a friend of mine recently who's in Alcoholics Anonymous, and she was telling me about something that is read often in the Blue Book, which is the AA standard. And it says, when I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, or thing or situation, some facet of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be for me in this moment. So even if we don't like it, even if we don't like them, we can still say, I can give thanks for the opportunity to heal, to bless, to grow. It's for my own soul's alchemy, to expand my ability to be in the warrior's pose of acceptance, of compassion, of patience, and to see my own growth. I can evaluate where I am now based on how I evaluate, based on how I see my own responses to what is occurring versus how I may have in the past. Sometimes it's not always what I want it to be, but we can all do that. We can all take a look and say, hey, I was much more patient. I was much kinder. I was more compassionate. I understand now things I couldn't understand in the past, because of the fact that I took the time to be in allowance, in acceptance, even in appreciation, and in trust. The Course in Miracles says, trust will solve all problems now. Trust. Why? Because all things are as they should be, whether we like it or not, whether it's the picture of how we wanted it to be. I was saying at the full moon recently that we can think of the people that we want to let go, the people that have been the most difficult in our lives, as the people who came in with a flashlight to shine on the areas where we need to heal. So in fact, we can be thankful. We can say, hey, thank you for that. And if we're in a situation where we feel as though we're doing our best self, we're showing up kind, we're showing up compassionate, we're showing up sweet, and it's not being received, we have to look at two things. One, our expectations. Were we being kind, compassionate, and sweet because we genuinely wanted to feel that way and be that way? Or were we having expectations of the other one reciprocating? Because sometimes they just don't. So we have to acknowledge the truth of our own selves. Can I be in this state of patience, kindness, sweetness, because that is who I want to be and how I want to be, and not expect anything in return? And the other thing is that we can also extend that out as a donation. Interesting concept. I spoke at the United Peace Federation a few weeks ago. They have a weekly interfaith prayer meeting, and they asked me to speak. And there was this other woman there. Her name is Sister Gita Patel. She runs the Brahma Kumaris group in Los Angeles. And she said, if you're in a situation where you wish other people would be kind and compassionate, instead of judging them, donate to them. Because if you have extra love in you, just donate it. Imagine yourself just putting it out there like, hey, kind of like putting old clothes in the Goodwill bag. And you say, you know what? I want somebody else to enjoy this. I want somebody else to have this, to be thankful for this, to be in a place of peace as a result. So I'm going to extend maybe a little donation. I have a little donation of peace. I have a little extra in me. And if I don't, then I hope maybe somebody can donate theirs. Either way, we continue on. We keep moving forward. We keep being in this place of allowance and acceptance, and also in a place of appreciation for whatever it is. The prayer of Jabez says, "Oh God, I pray that you will bless me indeed and enlarge my territory." What does that mean? That means that wherever I am, whoever I'm with, whatever I'm doing, whatever the situation, I want this to be my opportunity to be a blessing. Enlarge my territory of ministry, enlarge my territory of opportunity to be kind, to rise higher, to pray harder, to love steadily, forgive readily. Because we're not quitters, we're risers. I watched a documentary the other day. It's probably the third time I've seen it since it came out back in 2010. It's called I Am. And it's by this guy, Tom Shadyac, who was formerly a Hollywood producer. And he had a lot of success. And he had stuff to show for his success. Homes, mansions, actually, cars, all that, all the wonderful allowances of wealth. And but then something happened and he became ill. I believe it was a brain injury of some sort. And it made him reevaluate how he was living his life and the things that he was ascribing value to. And he started to be just concerned about the world and circumstances that he had never really given a lot of thought to. And so he sent out this documentary to ask people what they thought was wrong with the world and what needed to be done. And so he was asking spiritual leaders that he had been following. He was asking authors and quantum physicists and scientists. And what he found interesting was that everyone pretty much had the same answer, which was that what's wrong with the world is divisiveness, any sort of decision that you're the good guy and I'm the bad guy, the things that accumulate hard feelings and hard hearts, the things that bring us to a place of divisiveness and even war. The things that are needed to fix the world are the individual decisions, one by one, to grow exponentially until more and more people raise into the consciousness of unity, of non-duality, of recognizing that we're all in this together. None of us are getting out alive, so we might as well go into whatever it is that's happening with like the eyes and the heart and the mind of compassion, of mutual resolution, mutual rising. Sometimes we just get stuck on deciding that there's a bad guy. And of course, the Miracles tells us this. This is from the text, chapter 27. It says, dream of your brother's kindness instead of dwelling on his mistakes. Select his thoughtfulness to dream about instead of counting up the thoughts he gave. Forgive him his illusions and give thanks for the helpfulness he gave to you, and do not brush aside his many gifts because he is not perfect in your dreams. You know, the fact that he's not perfect in your dreams basically means he did not meet your expectations, or maybe he hurt you or betrayed you, he, she. And so we come back to that same concept of reevaluating what has occurred so that we can see it from a place of allowance and acceptance and even appreciation, because we ultimately want for our own hearts to be at peace, for our own hearts to be filled with the desire to continuously be kind, continuously be compassionate, even if we have a little skip every now and then. You know, they say your heart skips a beat every now and then. It's also the fact that sometimes we just don't want to give someone another inch. And you know what? We're giving ourselves the inch. We're giving ourselves the opportunity to blossom and grow. One of the things that was said in that documentary was a quote. He said Rumi, but who knows? Everybody says it's Rumi. But it said, that which caused the flower in my garden to blossom also caused my heart to open. I love that. I love that. It's a reminder that there's a beautiful benevolent force in the universe that we all have access to at any given time, any given time. It's there for us. It's within us. We can access it. And with it, we can be brought back to the reminder that no matter what happens today, I'm going to remember that I started my day with a spiritual intention. I started with my desire to rise higher. And sometimes that means that we are faced with the challenges. It's kind of like, okay, well, let's see how you're going to do. Let's see how high you rise. Until you do your best. One of the people that this guy in the documentary asked the question of answered it this way. Yes, everyone. He started the question to everyone. What's wrong with the world? And people spoke of divisiveness, as I said. But this one guy said, what's wrong with the world? I am. What does that mean? That means that I am responsible. I am responsible for what I put into the energy of whatever is around me. Whatever I think about, whoever I talk to, whoever I interact with, we all are. And so a few years ago when we were showing this documentary with class during A Course in Miracles, pre-COVID, I remember asking everyone, so who's responsible for doing anything about it? I am. I am. We can say that together when we get up in the morning to say, you know, who's responsible for making this a good day? I am. Who's responsible for being kind? I am. Who's responsible for being forgiving? I am. So we're not quitters, we're risers. We're rising to the opportunity every day to be a blessing, to bring in blessings, to be compassionate, to be patient, to be in the warrior's pose that allows us to stretch a little further and a little further every day. I know you can do it because you are the light of the world and because you have come into this world knowing that you can save your own heart from getting bitter and hard. You can take that bitterness, chip away at it. Just like Michelangelo, when they said, hey, how did you come up with David? He said he started with a block of marble and he chipped away of everything that was not David. And there he is. And that's what we're doing. We're chipping away at anything that has hardened our hearts, that has caused us to put blinders on and forget to know and forget to see and forget to appreciate that everyone else is a brother or sister going into the same direction. We might not like the direction. We might not join them on that road. Their road might be bumpy. Our road might be bumpy. We might not be able to see eye to eye, but we're all going in the same direction. Peace. We want peace. We want peace. There's this old Taoist story. I was going to wrap it up, but I remembered one more thing. There's this old Taoist story of a man who went up to the top of the mountain on a beautiful stallion. And he waited for a companion that he knew was supposed to be there. He's like, where'd he go? Where is he? So finally the companion shows up on a donkey. And he says, Why did you take all the extra time to come up on this cranky old donkey? And you had to probably fall off lots of times. And the guy said, well, I still got to the top of the hill. I'm still here with you. So we're all headed to the top being our highest self, the best we can do at any given time. Why? Because we're not quitters, we're risers. So we're rising. And who's responsible for that? I am. God bless you. I'll see you along on this journey, this very sacred journey. We're doing a few extra things this year. One is specifically designed for women who are spiritual leaders and working in spiritual communities. It's called Embracing Spirit, and that's going to be starting in February. If you want more details, please get in contact with me. Also, on the third Thursday of every month, we're going to be doing something called Mystic Conversations, where Reverend Lisa Benton will be speaking with me as she highlights a particular mystic that she studied along her spiritual path that she sees to be in correlation with the spiritual principles and the spiritual studies of A Course in Miracles. So we hope that you'll join us on those for those events. And of course, full moon gathering here in Southeast Florida. We're in Lauderdale by the Sea, and the next one will be on Wednesday, January 24th. See you there, see you everywhere. And as we rise every morning, just remember, 24 hours ahead of me, to be the best that I can according to my own expectations of my spiritual self. I will be kinder today. I will be more compassionate. I will be more patient. I will stretch like a warrior into the warrior's pose of forgiveness, of rising higher, loving steadily, forgiving readily. Amen to that. You are a riser, not a quitter. You're a riser.